All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I am the TRIO advisor at De Anza High School. We're really excited to start a new series of online webinars where we discuss, different college topics, have different conversations with you all, and just really share information and knowledge. Regardless if your student or your child is in middle school or if they're current seniors. So welcome everyone. Just really quickly want to, have an agenda that way we know what to expect and, it keeps us accountable. So again, if you didn't get a chance to fill out the attendance form, it's in the chat. Let us know if you didn't receive it. We'll go over some quick expectations for the next hour. We'll quickly go around and introduce ourselves and get to, for those of you that haven't had a chance to meet the other advisors, this would be a great chance to do that. We'll do a quick pre-quiz just to kind of see where everyone's at in the room, and just kind of, maybe even have that opportunity to kind of learn some new things that maybe you have not, had a chance to get some information on before. So it's going to be a very informative presentation. We'll do a quick reflection. We'll go into the different college systems and we'll further break down, what are the A through G requirements, what are in those college applications, how can you prepare as a student, but also as if you're a parent joining us, what are some things that you can do to kind of support your child and making sure that they have some kind of plan regardless of the grade level that they're in. We'll have some time for Q&A towards the end, and then we will tell you all about our upcoming webinar that is going to come about in the next 2 weeks, and we'll have you all fill out a feedback form. So really quickly, the next hour will be very information dense. And so please, we would really appreciate if you can be as present as possible. If you're comfortable, turn on your camera. We really do appreciate when we see faces and interact with you all virtually. Utilize the chat for any questions. So at any point, if I'm going a little too fast, or maybe we missed something that you all may have a question and you would like some clarification, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll have someone monitoring our chat. You can also use the raise hand function, the reaction that's on Zoom, or you can just unmute yourself, whatever is comfortable for you if you have any questions. Please, we encourage you all to have some water, have some snacks, have something to eat, as this will be pretty dense with information. All right, so really quickly, we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves. So again, my name is Jessica. Students can call me either Miss Jessica or Miss Sanchez, doesn't really matter to me. I am the TRIO advisor at De Anza, and I'll go ahead and popcorn it to Lorena.
Hey y'all, my name is Miss Lorena or Lorena. I work for all the middle schools. So I work at Kurumatsu Middle, Pinole Middle, I'm blanking, Helms Middle and Betty Reed. So all the 4 middle schools, I'm there at a particular middle school every day. And then on Fridays, I meet with students or parents, depending if y'all wanted to reach me. So you guys can connect with me, even if you're a parent too. And I'll popcorn it over to Miss Tanzania.
Thank you, Lorena. What's up, y'all? So I'm Miss Tanzania or Tanzania, and I am the TRIO advisor for Castlemont High School, as well as our office clients. So that's any student that is not at our target schools, either our 6 high schools or our 4 middle schools. You attend somewhere else, you are considered an office clients, and I'm your advisor. And I will pass it to Miss Tiffany.
All right, hey everybody, my name is Miss Tiffany or just Tiffany, and I am the advisor for Oakland High and Skyline. So thank y'all for spending your evening with us, and thank you, Miss Jessica, for putting this together.
Unmuted. And we also have our director. So Jimmy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Once again, thanks, Jessica, for taking the lead to moderate this. And thanks everyone else for showing up and participating. This does not go unnoticed. Next year, hopefully, we can resume in-person activities. And when we start to travel, we will definitely take notice of who showed up doing these very informative presentations that are about to come up, workshops over the course of the next couple months or what have you. So we have 5 workshops, Wednesday workshops coming up. The next one is on the 20th, and it's going to be looking at financial aid. So you don't want to miss that, especially if you're a senior. Financial aid actually just opened up the portal, I believe, on the 2nd of October. So it's fully operational. You can start submitting that information. But I just want to thank everyone for showing up. This is going to be very informative. And don't forget the next ones that are coming up on the 20th. And also be sure to bring a friend. I always tell people don't enjoy this good thing by yourself. Bring a friend, bring a neighbor, bring a cousin, bring someone along with you so they can get this good information as well. But welcome, and I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jimmy. All right, so we are going to transition into a Kahoot. I love using Kahoot because it's a really great way to, just interact with, it's a good interactive platform. So it's pretty cool. And so we're going to go ahead and drop the Kahoot link in the chat. Just give me 1 second. And this is going to give us the opportunity to kind of see where you are all at in terms of just your general college knowledge. So for students and parents here who have joined us, this is a really great way to just kind of test to see what are some areas that maybe, we can get some more information on, and where, your TRIO advisor can come into play. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, let me know if everyone is able to see the Kahoot. All right, cool. Can everyone hear the sound too? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so go ahead and, if you have the Kahoot app, feel free to, open it up, or you can go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin. And this is a great way, like I said, for us to kind of see where you're at. So I appreciate those who are joining right now. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you, Felicia. Thanks, Anthony, Serena, Elia. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Let me know if I'm not. Brandon, Hennessy's. All right, we'll give y'all about just a minute or so just to join. We do have about 26 or so questions. I'm anticipating we spend about 15 seconds per question. And so a great way for us to kind of, test our knowledge, test to see where we're at with our college knowledge. And maybe you learned something new that you didn't know. So cool. All right, let us know if you need about a minute or maybe a few more seconds in the chat if you're still kind of figuring out the Kahoot thing. I know some of us may be familiar with it. Maybe for some of us, this is our first time using it. But I definitely appreciate you all for being here. So if you're just joining us right now, we're about to do a quick Kahoot just to kind of test everyone's college knowledge and see kind of where everyone's at. Okay, so about 45-ish more seconds, unless we need a little bit more time. Then I will provide that as well. Okay. Can I get a reaction? Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to join. You can put it in the chat. You can also react. All right, cool. Looks like a couple folks are ready. Okay. And if you also just want to, just sit back and watch. If you're not comfortable joining, then that's totally fine too. But we're going to go ahead and get started just for the sake of time. Cool. And don't mind the date. That was a typo. Okay, so, all right. So how many community colleges exist in California? All right, we got about 3 more seconds. Ooh, okay, cool. So looks like we'll go over this in a second, but yes, there's 116 community colleges in California. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, Anthony, I see you. All right. How many California State University, also known as CSU campuses, exist? So is it 24, 30, 23, or 28? Yes, so we have 23 California State University, also known as CSU campuses in California. And later in the presentation, we'll break down a little bit more and show you all a map of where these campuses are located and some more information. Okay. Okay. All right, next question. How many University of California, also known as UC, campuses exist? This one may be a trick question. So for my students who we've had this conversation before, yes. So there are 9 campuses open to undergraduate students, but in fact, there's 10 total. So this was a trick question and we'll go over it later in the presentation. There's one UC campus that's only open to graduate students, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Okay. All right. Ashley taking the lead. All right. When does the University of California UC application open? So if you're a student in the room, you should know this answer. If you're a parent, this is a really, really important date, especially if you have younger siblings who will be seniors either in the next year or next couple of years. Yes, so the UC application opened on August 1st. Okay, Ashley is on fire today. Okay. So true or false? The University of California requires 4 short essays as a part of their application process. Oh, yes, so that is true. So the University of California actually does require 4 short essays. So students essentially get to pick 4 out of the 8 questions. And again, we'll go over this in the presentation. On to the next question. When does the California State University, also known as the CSU, when does their application open? More seconds. Oh, okay. So it looks like maybe some folks, this is a great transition into the presentation too. So yes, so the CSU application, unlike the UC application, has a different date. And for the CSU, it actually opens on October 1st. So it just recently opened. Okay, Serena with the comeback. All right, so the CSU application does not require an essay. True or false? Okay, so this was a trick question. So essentially, the CSU application does not require an essay. However, there is a educational opportunity program, also known as EOP, at CSUs that actually does require a short responses. And we'll go into it a little bit in the presentation, but essentially it is the trio programs of colleges. So it's essentially a program that supports students, if they are low income, first generation. So it's a really great program. So yes, essentially the CSU application does not require it, but if students are interested in applying to that program, they would need to do short responses. When is the deadline to submit both the UT and CSU applications? So we know they have different opening dates. When is the deadline where they both are due? Yes, both the UC and CSU applications are due on November 30th. How many historically Black colleges and universities exist across the United States? Yes, so there are 107 HBCUs across the US. All right, moving on to the next question. Okay, how many private colleges and universities are there across the United States? These are some pretty large numbers. So if you are not sure, feel free to take a guess. Yes, there are about 3,900 private colleges and universities across the US. All right, so private colleges and universities, including HBCUs, have different application deadlines. Yes. This makes me really happy. So this lets us know that folks are aware that, private colleges and universities, including HBCUs, do in fact have different application deadlines. All right. True or false? Most private colleges and universities utilize the common application, including selected HBCUs. Yes, this is a true statement. So for the most part, most private colleges and universities do use the common application, including some HBCUs. All right, 10th and 11th grade are the two most important years in high school. Yes, this one was pretty fast. I'm really happy to see that folks understand this. So yes, we'll talk about it in just a second. 10th and 11th grade are the most important years in high school because colleges will primarily look at that GPA. And that's also the GPA that students will utilize when applying to colleges. So very, very important to know if this is something that you didn't know before. All right, we'll skip that for the sake of time. A student's 9th and 12th grade GPAs do not impact their college applications. So feel free to read that one more time. Yes, false. So essentially all grades matter, every year matters. And colleges will look at each grade, look at, their GPAs, especially private colleges. Private colleges look at every grade starting from 9th grade up until their senior year. So it's very important that students are maintaining strong grades across all grade levels. All right, we're almost done. A student should begin thinking and preparing for college admissions as early as middle school. Yes, so I know we have Miss Lorena in the room, and so she can agree that, those conversations are very, very important, especially when you start having them as early as middle school. Students go into their high schools already knowing this information. They already have a better sense of direction, and are able to advocate for themselves a little bit more. So we'll talk about it later in the presentation as to why it's really important for us to make sure we have these conversations with our middle school students too. All right, the A through G requirements are required by four-year universities, community colleges, trade schools, or all of the above. Yes, four-year colleges and universities are the college systems that do require the A through G requirements. Middle school students can satisfy one of the A through G requirements as early as 8th grade. Is this true or false? Yes, that is true. So 8th grade students can start taking Algebra 1, which counts for one of the A through G requirements. Students must complete and pass all A through G requirements with a C or better to apply for college. Really important to know. Yes, so we do encourage students to make sure that they're maintaining strong grades, and especially making sure that they're passing their A through G requirements with a C or better to apply for college. Colleges and universities seek for students who are well-rounded, meaning that they have strong academics and are involved in extracurricular activities. Is that true or false? Yes, colleges will definitely be more drawn to looking at students who are well-rounded. So it's really important that, students are maintaining those strong grades, but are also getting involved outside of school or in school, whichever they prefer. Students need to have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA in order to apply to the University of California. Is that true or false? Yes, 3.0 in order to be able to apply to a UC, minimum. The CSU, California State University, requires a minimum GPA of a 2.5 in order to apply. True or false? Yes, so in fact, since COVID, the GPA requirement has changed. So in the past it was 2.0 and now it has shifted over to a 2.5. And colleges and universities are no longer factoring in tests, SAT, ACT testing. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. Thanks for hanging on, everyone. We're almost done. Students who pass all A through Gs with a C or better are eligible to apply for private colleges and universities. Yes, so essentially, if a student has completed their A through Gs with a C or better, they can definitely apply for private colleges and universities. It doesn't just apply to UC and CSU. Community colleges require the A through G requirements. Is this true or false? This is false. Community colleges only require a high school diploma, so they actually don't have to complete the A through G requirements. All right, HBCUs are open to all students regardless of ethnic backgrounds. Yes, so while HBCUs, for the most part, historically, were established to, to be able to have the education for African American folks. Currently, HBCUs are open to anyone regardless of their ethnic background. So there definitely are HBCUs with large populations of different ethnic backgrounds. And so it's really important to just know that they are open to everyone. All four-year colleges and universities use the same application for admission. Yes, that is false, and we'll explain that in a second. All right, last question. Students can ask their friends and their family members for letters of recommendations for their college applications and scholarships. Yes, so this is actually false. So students cannot ask friends or family members for letters of recommendation for their college applications. And it's really important that, students not only don't do that, but that they either are asking a teacher or a counselor or someone that has been able to, see their growth over the years. But definitely, please do not encourage any student to go ask for a letter of recommendation from a friend or a family member. And if you are a student in the room, please shift away from that. Counselors, teachers, coaches, anyone a part of any club or organization that has seen your growth are folks that you should be gearing towards. Okay, so let's see who took the lead. In third place, we have Brandon. Shout out to Brandon. Serena coming in second place, and Ashley coming in first. Thanks for playing, y'all. All right, let's go ahead and transition over to our presentation. Okay. So, all right. So just really quickly in the chat, please, what comes to mind when you all hear the word college or university? So this can be a word, this can be an emotion, a feeling. What comes to mind when you hear the word college and university? So feel free to put it in the chat. Someone said student debt, dedication. Yes, that's correct. Expensive, a lot of work, education, less sleep, hard work, exposure. Someone said different majors, careers, community. Yeah, and these are all correct. So feel free to continue, entering that in the chat. Studying, better life. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. So I wanted to just show you all just the definition that's on Google for what, for college. So essentially, can I have someone in the room read this definition out for us, please? Greatly appreciate hearing a different voice. Anyone, feel free to unmute yourself.
Here, I'll read it.
Thank you.
Oh, did someone else volunteer?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
An educational institution or establishment, in particular, one providing higher education or specialized professional or vocational training.
Thank you. I didn't get a chance to see who that was, but thank you for sharing that out. So essentially the definition is, as we're reading this definition, we can see that college is not just that 2-year or 4-year route, right? So there's also an emphasis on, specialized professional or vocational training. And so nowadays, while we do encourage as, advisors for our students to pursue a 2-year route or a 4-year route, there are also different options that students can take if they have particular careers in mind. So going over just a little bit as to what, what are the options that students have after they're done with high school? So essentially, these post-secondary college options are, the community college route, and even within community colleges, you have trade schools, you have vocational schools. Students are able to get specific certifications, are able to be trained to do specific, careers and jobs and things of that sort. So community colleges are a really great place for students to start, to not only, consider the 4-year route, but also to, explore different areas, the different, fields that aren't just focused on, the 4-year route, essentially. And students can also pursue that 4-year route, right? So you have colleges and universities ranging from very small to very large. So you have the CSUs, you have the UCs, you have the private schools, you have the out of state. So these are the 2 different options that students can pursue. Going a little over, the community colleges, again, there are 116 community college campuses, as you all can see on this map. The words are very, very tiny, but there are tons of CSU community colleges across the state of California. And community colleges, like I was mentioning, they don't just offer the associate's degree to be able to, transfer if that is something that, a person may have in mind. But community colleges offer so much more. They offer certificates, like I mentioned, and other areas for students to really explore the different job fields that are out there. And for those of you that may or may not know this, community colleges do have what are called their transfer programs. So they do have an associate's degrees for transfer, which basically supports students in that process to transfer to a CSU. For students that are interested in transferring to a University of California, there is a TAG program, which essentially, stands for Transfer Admissions Guarantee. So if students are maintaining their strong academics, are meeting with their counselor to make sure that they're taking the right courses to be able to transfer to a University of California, they are guaranteed a spot at any of the UCs besides UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego. Those are the only UC campuses that do not offer the TAG program. So, community colleges may be a different alternative route for students if right now, the 4-year route isn't the, immediate path. And so they are a really great option for students that, maybe want to stay close to home, are still kind of thinking about what they want to do, and maybe want to explore different career and job opportunities. Trade and vocational programs. I know there's a lot of words on the screen right now, but essentially, like I mentioned, these are programs that are catered to, very specific jobs and careers. So someone that may be interested, in agriculture, architecture, maybe they want to go into fashion design, healthcare, maybe they want to be a paramedic or EMT, even nursing programs, being a cosmetologist. There are specific trade programs that do provide not only that exposure, that experience, but can train folks to be able to go into that career and get a certification to do that. And some trade programs are within other colleges. If you live, near Alameda, there is College of Alameda, which is one of those community colleges that we have in California, where they do have an EMT, a fire, to be a firefighter, a technology, trade program, and a cosmetology program. And the pros of pursuing this route is that, you can get those 2 free years free at a community college. So it's definitely cheaper than the regular tuition at, CSU and UCs. And for the most part, most do accept FAFSA. And so really important that students are doing their financial aid applications. Moving on to CSUs, there are 23 campuses. Requirements to be able to apply for the California State University is completing their A through G courses, making sure that they have the GPA of a 2.5 or higher. Testing right now is suspended. So essentially we have been telling our students to not worry about the SAT, ACT. However, if they are interested in taking it, they can have a conversation with their advisor to figure out where are the nearest testing centers that are open. And for the most part, while there are 23 campuses, some of the majors at these campuses can be impacted, which basically means that they are more selective and more competitive. And it really is going to depend on the major. So we really encourage a student, if they have a school in mind and a major that may be impacted, to have a conversation with their advisor. For UCs, we have 10 campuses in California. The same requirements for the most part as the CSU. However, the only difference is that the University of California really wants to be able to learn more about if a student was involved in extracurriculars. The GPA is a 3.0 to be able to apply. And there is that personal insight question component. So those 4 short essays. And for the most part, most UCs are pretty, selective and competitive. However, the most competitive UCs are UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego. Cool. All right. And so I'll go ahead and transition this over to Miss Lorena.
Hey y'all, so we have a really quick question just to kind of see, if you guys picked up on this a little bit earlier when Miss Jessica mentioned it. So can anyone guess which UC is not open to first-time freshmen? So which UC you can apply to either when you're transferring from community college, yes, or from high school? Yes. Okay, I see some I think Edgar was the first one to say it, but yeah, so it's gonna be UCSF. So UCSF only allows graduate students. Graduate means that they've already gotten a degree from a 4-year university or college. So afterwards, if you finish your degree and you want to pursue something, especially in the medical field, then you can apply to UCSF.
Thanks, Lorena. All right, so quickly just comparing this UC and CSUs. For the most part, UCs are, typically more expensive than CSUs. And I put a little asterisk next to that because everyone's situation, it will be different. So while we're looking at the price tag, it may look like it's a lot more, but it really depends on a student's family size and their income. So, we encourage students to still apply regardless of, the price tag because they will receive different packages. GPA, PIQs, extracurriculars are something that the CSUs really heavily weigh on. They are for the most part research-based institutions. So their professors, are some of the top researchers in the world, and they typically are larger in comparison to CSUs, which are typically cheaper. GPA is a little bit lower. They tend to be more hands-on and, to prepare those for very specialized careers. So for example, nursing is a very popular major at CSUs. And for the most part, they do have smaller class sizes. A little bit about private colleges and universities. They typically are a little bit larger. In some cases, some of them are smaller depending, on the campus itself. But they typically are a little bit more expensive. However, with them being a little bit more expensive, they typically do have more financial aid to provide. And so again, same requirements for the UC application. And in some cases, they do ask for letters of recommendation. So really important that if a student is thinking about a private college or university, that they are keeping the, potential recommenders, in the back of their mind and building those relationships early on. HBCUs, like I mentioned, there are 107 campuses around the US. Some are public, some are private. For the most part, the requirements are pretty much the same across, 4-year institutions. So completing those A through Gs, testing for the most part is currently waived. Personal statements, sometimes, certain colleges will have their own. So it's really important for students to kind of figure out, what are the requirements for each school that they're interested in applying to. GPAs vary. So between a 2.0 to a 3.0, is the, the bracket that we encourage our students to be in when they're considering to apply. And they all have different deadlines. So really important that, a student does their research so that they don't miss out on those deadlines. All right, now transition it back to Lorena.
Sorry, I was trying to find my mouse. So for the next one, can anyone guess how many A through G courses you need to complete in order to be able to apply to UCs and CSUs? So again, A through G courses are the classes, they're a set of classes that you are required in order for you to be able to apply to some of these more competitive schools. So how many classes do you, okay, 4. It's a little higher than that. 15. Okay, not as high as 19. Let's get 2 more guesses and then we'll share the answer with you.
Oh, I see a correct answer in the chat. All right.
Oh, yes, thank you, Miss Jessica. So 15. So you need 15 A through G courses total, and you need to pass them with a C or better in order for it to count. So you need 15 courses, and these 15 courses, you will take them during your 4 years of college. Or like Miss Jessica mentioned, you can get started in 8th grade with that Algebra 1 class.
Thank you. All right, so really quickly, I won't read everything on the screen, so feel free to glance at it. These are the A through G requirements. So there are 15 classes total. You have history, you have English, you have math, science, a language other than English, your visual performing arts, and your college prep elective. So really important that, students are not just striving to do the minimum requirements, but that they are taking, and going, above and beyond. So if, for example, for the D lab science A through G requirement, 2 years are only required, but 3 are recommended. So we really encourage students to always do the recommended number of years for that specific course. And really important to know that the UC application in particular does require all of their applicants to complete and pass geometry. So that is something that differentiates the UC application from the CSU application. So we'll provide you all with a resource info sheet at the end of the presentation. So please don't feel like you will not receive this information or you'll be missing out. We'll send you all a bunch of information after. All right, and so now I'll go ahead and transition it over to Ms. Tanzania.
Yes, so now that we heard all about the different systems, what's in the college applications? So starting off, the California colleges, the application, CCC is the application website. The application opens in the spring, so around like March time usually. The deadlines are ongoing, so if you don't know if you're interested in community colleges, you kind of have some time, but always do it faster so you know you have the money for it. The application is not as dense as the CSUs and UCs and private colleges. It requires personal information, majors of interest, and grades. And as soon as you complete an application, you are accepted. To be eligible to apply to a community college, all you need is to be 18 years of age and have a high school diploma. So if you have those 2 and you apply, you automatically accepted. Class registration begins late May through early June, and usually classes start around like late August. Now for the CSU. So the CSU requires a little bit more than the California community colleges. The application opened, 5 days ago on October 1st, and it closes November 30th, but there are some schools that extended their deadline to, I believe it's December 20th. So just check out the school, all the schools that you're interested in and seeing their deadlines, but most of them are due November 30th. There's one application, and that one application will be sent to 4 CSUs if you have a fee waiver, but if you want to apply to more, you can, but each application is $70. So if you are eligible for a fee waiver, you apply to 4 for free, but any number after that, you have to pay $70 for each. So there is one application. The application can be long. You will have to input all your personal information in every single class that you took, either in high school or if you took some community college classes, as well as their grades. So that is very tedious, it's very time consuming. So if you are a senior, start doing that now. As you can see on the left side, there's 4 quadrants. So it's your personal information where you put in basic information, you know, name, birthday, family information, your academic history where you put in your courses and your grades, supporting information that is to apply to EOP. So Ms. Jessica mentioned the Educational Opportunity Program, which how she put it was the TRIO program on a college campus somewhat. So they have support systems on campus, and essentially their job is to make sure your 4 years on whatever campus that you are on, make sure that you're on track to getting your degree. So they do require a separate application, and they have a few short responses if you are qualified. So the EOP is for first generation low income college students. So that is all housed in the supporting information. They do require recommendations as well. And then program materials is where you select the schools, the colleges you want to apply to, as well as the major. Most CSU campuses release admissions decisions by spring, but there are some that will accept students early as fall. Now, the UC application. So the UC application is more dense than the CSU. Their application opened August 1st, so it's already open for the past month or two, and it closes November 30th. As far as I know, there's no extension. It's November 30th. There's also one application that can be sent to every school that you apply to, but you can give a fee waiver for 4 UCs. Any application after that is also $70. Again, it's a very long process. There's 8 sections. And the UCs, they do a holistic review process. So just simple terms, they look at not just your grades or any AP test scores, but they also look at activities and awards and basically what you have done outside of the classroom, as well as the PIQs. You have to write a personal statement. You pick 4 PIQ responses out of 8 to explain who you are as a student and the person, just who you are overall. And the UCs typically release admissions decisions in the spring and no later than March. So some UCs, they may ask for a letter of rec. So if you apply, they might email you asking for one. So always check your emails. Okay, so private and independent colleges and universities. So the private colleges, their application opens open August 1st, excuse me. The deadline varies, but for early decision is November 1st and regular decision is January 1st, but please make sure you check your school because the deadline might be different. Apply early if you want to be considered to scholarship. So as someone who graduated from a private school is extremely expensive. So apply early if you want to be considered for the good money. The Common App is very in-depth. It's in-depth application similar to the UCs. And they do ask for basically everything that the UCs ask for. They have different essay questions, but you might can use some of your PIQs to answer some of those questions. A lot of them are kind of similar, but just work with your advisor to see if you can like copy and paste. Common App, private schools, they also require a letter of recommendation. So start asking your counselors and teachers. And then some HBCUs do use the Common Application, but not all. So just check to see if any of the HBCUs you're interested in are on the Common Application.
All right, and just looking at the time, we might just, quickly go over and don't worry, everyone, we will share this presentation, so you will definitely get all this information. But we do want to honor everyone's time, so we may go a little bit quickly in the next couple of slides. Cool.
Okay, so if they're not on a common app, they might be on a Black Common app, which is 62 HBCUs on that. It's a $20 application fee, and you can apply to as many. The application opens in the fall, and every college is different. Each colleges have their own application process and offer unique financial aid package. So just check that out and do the research with your advisor. And the application is very similar to the Common App. And last but not least, admissions decisions vary by campuses, but often in the spring.
All right, thanks, Tanzania.
Yeah.
And just to quickly, go over those application factors, grades are very important. So making sure that all students are, not only taking the appropriate classes, but passing is really, really important. Building their college knowledge is very, very crucial. And that's why we, have been emphasizing that those conversations start as early as middle school. So, if you're a high school student now and you have a sibling in a middle school, really, really important that you're sharing this information with them, that you're having those conversations. So by the time they are in high school, they have they have this information and they're building on what they already know. Getting involved is really important. Doing it, your research, not just, the student on their own, but also with their families to kind of start thinking about like what are the options out there, and, having that support is very, very important. Testing at this very moment, we will, disregard it for now because it has been suspended. But if a student is particularly interested in, taking a test, they can talk to their advisor. And just for the sake of time, I'll just quickly go over the question. So some benefits of, staying out of state or going out of state versus staying in state is obviously, a student may get homesick. Transportation is something to think about. Tuition out of state is a little bit more expensive in comparison to in-state tuition. And, for students who are interested, in going out of state, it's a really great opportunity, to, go somewhere new, stepping out of their comfort zone. Some programs and, schools out of state may be cheaper than, the cost of what it is to stay in state. So really important that students do their research to figure out what's the best fit for them. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, put them in the chat. An advisor will respond to your question, but we're gonna go ahead and just move on for the sake of time. And I know we're almost, getting toward the end, but we are going to, at least need 5 more minutes. So if you are able to stay for at least 5 more minutes, just to have a quick conversation, please stay. If not, again, we will share this information with you. So some ways to prepare. So like I was saying, we really encourage that, your student checks in with their TRIO advisor as soon as possible. Creating a game plan is really, really important. And we'll go ahead and drop in the chat a resource for you all to kind of take a couple of seconds to kind of glance at. So we have a game plan for each grade level, and we also have a checklist. And so we'll give you all maybe just about a couple of minutes just to kind of look at this. Feel free to just, glance at it and think about what are some of the things that you see on these documents. And in addition to that, when a student actually is at their high school, they will have a conversation with their advisor to create a college list and a brag sheet, which is essentially where they will put all of the things that they've been involved in, to be able to have it in one space. And when they do their college applications, they can just cross-reference and put that information on there. So like I was mentioning, I really want us to just kind of have a conversation. So for the next 5 minutes or so, if you are currently looking at those info sheets right now, I'm going to open up just some really quick breakout rooms just for you all to kind of have a quick conversation around what do you see in these information sheets? And if you are a student, what is one thing that you plan to take away from this resource sheet and begin doing? Or if you're a parent, regardless of the grade level that your child is in, what is one thing that you can do as a parent to support your student or your child in that process? So going to open up the breakout rooms really quickly. And we will get started. All right. So we will be in the breakout room. So see you all in, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. So Tanzania, if you can close the breakout rooms in about 5 minutes, that would be great. So you should be getting an invitation to go into the breakout rooms. All right. You can ignore that notification, Tanzania. All right. All right, really quickly.
But since we do have a limited amount of time, we're gonna kind of start pretty quickly. Jessica, is everybody already divvied up into rooms?
Yes, so maybe just for like a couple minutes, you know, we can just quickly kind of look at what we see in those info sheets. So feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. What do you see in those resource sheets? And what's, if you're a student or if you're a parent, what's one thing that you want to take away from, you know, the information in those resource sheets?
Well, where are the resource sheets?
They should have dropped it in the chat. If not, we can redrop it in just 1 second. Tiff, do you happen to have the links by any chance?
Yeah, I am putting them in there right now.
Thank you.
While I do that, while I put all the links into the chat, what, if you're a parent or if you are a student, what are you going to do or what do you plan to do with this information that you received tonight?
I guess you can start off as a senior in De Anza High School, the class of 2022. Obviously, I'm going to go down the list, make a game plan. And so far, I've been working on my UC app, a CSU app, and now I'm getting financial aid applications, FAFSA. And besides that, this is a pretty good list.
Awesome, awesome. Do we have any parents in the room? Or non-students, I guess? All right, looks like I got lucky. It's just students. All right, can we get another perspective or another, just another perspective? Like, what are you going to do with this information? Perhaps from someone who's not a senior, if there are any non-seniors in the room.
I'm a sophomore.
Okay, so what do you plan on doing with this information?
Well, it looks pretty straightforward. I'm kind of doing already what's over here. I'm going to be studying abroad. I wasn't able to do many things freshman year because of COVID, but I'm going to be studying abroad next summer. I already have my classes. My graduation status is really good. And I'm taking the practice test for the PSAT. And I'm working on my A through G requirements right now. And I also do a lot of sports, and I'm part of Key Club and other school clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds
Hey,
like
that's awesome.
Yeah, really awesome to hear. All right. I think we have time for maybe one more person too.
Yeah, I think that's fair. One more person. Okay, in the chat, we have Malika Senior, whose daughter is a freshman. So we do have a parent. I love it when parents are in the room. How do you plan on supporting just really quickly, how do you plan on supporting your daughter with all this information? All right, awesome. So you'll use this information to help her figure out all the classes that she needs to take to stay A through G compliant and eligible and competitive when it comes time to apply for college. Awesome.
Thanks for sharing, everyone. And thanks for being here and sticking around, 5 minutes after. Really appreciate that.
All right, I think we're.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for, spending a couple of minutes in the breakout room. We had some, really good conversations in our breakout room. And so, again, like I mentioned, this is all the information that, we went over today. You are going to receive this in the form of an email. So you'll get all the info sheets so you can digest it a little bit more if you didn't get a chance to. And please, if you have any questions, let us know, put it in the chat, we'll stick around for about a couple more minutes. And thank you for joining. Like I mentioned, everything will be sent to you all. We will post the recording on our YouTube page as well. And before you leave, please fill out the feedback form. It's very helpful for us to, be able to see if this was helpful. What are some areas that we can improve in? So please, if you haven't had a chance, the feedback form will be in the chat. And just a quick, reminder on the 20th, I know Jimmy mentioned this a little bit earlier in the presentation, we will be having our financial aid information